One more person. Okay, hello everybody. Okay, so I'll repeat this again. So for tonight's class, we're going to need a bolster, and if you don't have a bolster, just get a couple of big pillows that you can stack on top of each other. And we're going to need a block tonight, and I think that's about it, and just the other things that you may use. Tonight's class, we're going to be doing some hip stuff, and we are going to do a variety of things actually, but it's not going to be the backside class like I had said last night. Bit of backside stuff, but I changed it today because I was more in the mood to have a more mellow class, I guess, but we're definitely going to be doing some work. So come and sit down. If you want to sit on a chair, you can do all this beginning stuff on the chair. If you don't want to be coming down, because we are going to be on the floor for most of it. We're going to be standing a little bit, but not very much. So come down, take a seat. If you're crossing your legs, do it the opposite direction, the opposite of what you normally do. So, getting a nice seat, finding those sit bones. Sometimes I like to move the fleshy bits from side to side. Please sit on something. Don't try to sit on the floor. We're going to be here for a little while. And let's close our eyes. Take some big breaths in through the nose. Exhale, grounding into those sit bones. So finding those sit bones, envisioning those sit bones, or envisioning even your pelvis and your legs coming out of your hip joints. Nice tall back. So when you go to have a tall back, don't extend your ribs out. Keep the ribs down and extend from almost the back body. Neck nice and long. So you may want to tuck the chin a little tiny bit. And just come now and let's all try to find an easy breath. So taking a big breath in through the nose first, and let it out through the mouth if you want. It feels really good to just sigh the first couple of breaths out. So in through the nose, out through the mouth. And as you take these inhales and exhales, really think about the ribs expanding, okay? So on an inhale, let the belly relax, the belly will expand, and imagine and feel the breath coming up. And as it comes to the lungs, you really want the lungs, that feeling like the lungs are expanding and the ribs are moving in all directions. So you find that natural breath. And as you're sitting here, pay attention to what happens while you begin to slow the breath down. And as you slow the breath down, try to slow down your thoughts. You're not trying to stop your thoughts. You're just trying to relax the mind. If you're anything like me, my mind sometimes feels like it's going in a million directions all at once. So it's important for me to just take some time to come back to my breath and try to just come into my own body. I'm just meaning to be aware of how it feels to be in this body. Getting a sense of ease now. So an easier breath. And letting the jaw relax and all the muscles around the head and the face, the forehead, and the back of the neck, the traps. So the muscles down your neck going into the shoulders and down your arms. So just a feeling that you're more connected to your body, but just your place in space, I guess. So we'll begin with the neck. So you can open your eyes, and we're just going to drop the chin down towards the chest. And we're going, with our inhales, we're going to bring and do big, nice circles with the neck. And you're going to breathe in and come up, and exhale, come down. And you move with your own breath. So inhale up. And you can sigh out still if you want. And I'm going to go around in the other direction. So as you do this, make sure not to compress the neck in the back. So as though your nose is just going around a clock that's in front of your face. And now when you come, your head comes down towards your chest, you're just going to stay there and let the neck release and relax. And just take some gentle breaths. Ensure that you're not holding tension anywhere, but you don't want to be rounding your body either. And now we're just going to gently look up towards the sky. Like I said, we don't want to compress the neck too much in the back, just like reaching the chin up and maybe a little forward. Take a breath and come in, gently look over the left shoulder. Take a breath in, look over the right shoulder. And come forward. And now just a couple shoulder rolls. So bringing the shoulders up and squeezing the shoulder blades in the back, and the shoulder blades then come down. So up again, shoulder blades together and come down. And this time shoulder blades together first, and then shoulder blades up, the back, and apart, and wide, and down. And shoulder blades together, and up, and wide, and down. Just bringing the arms now up to the side. So I'm going to externally rotate my arms here. And when you externally rotate, you're really thinking about the joint in the shoulder. Externally rotate, palms come up towards the ceiling, and now you're just going to bring the arms up. Don't bring the ribs, don't bring the shoulders with you, okay? So by that, I mean don't let the shoulders go up. You're just reaching and come down. And then just a little closer together, the arms a little closer, come up, take breaths and come down. Don't tense anywhere, don't tense in the belly. Inhale now with the arms like shoulder width distance apart, and come up and stay here just for a breath. And come down, and now arms nice and wide, take a breath. And exhale, come into that eagle. So eagle arms, the two backs of the arms are just crossed over at the elbows and bent at the elbows. Two arms just towards each other. Move the fingers up towards the sky if that's available. No worries if it's not. Come down, and now we're going to stretch open again, but I'm going to bring the arms a little further down towards the floor. Take a breath. And exhale, cross the opposite one arm over the top and bend the elbows. Don't bring the shoulders up to the ears. Just like you're pressing the forearms towards each other, but they won't touch, okay? So that little bit of resistance, reach the fingers up to the sky. Take an inhale. And exhale, come down, give that a little shake. And now bring the left hand down to the floor or onto my bolster. I'm going to externally rotate the right arm and then bring it up to the side as I lean over to my left, but like I'm in between two panes of glass. So I'm not coming forward, I'm not going back. And I'm really pressing the right buttock down into the floor as I reach. Focusing getting the stretch between the bottom of the ribs and the top of the hip. So stretch, enjoy. You can round and come back to around to the other side. Again, like you're between two panes of glass. Don't collapse in the right shoulder. And now I'm reaching, extending. Inhale, and exhale, come down. I'm just going to do a few internal and external rotations with the arms. So I'm starting kind of wide. And again, just really putting my brain into those shoulders and wanting that movement to come from the arm bone moving in the shoulder socket. I'm bringing my arms closer and closer together now. And then I'm coming apart, but I've lowered my arms a little. So moving with the breath, noticing what's happening. Notice if you're getting tense anywhere. Again, so now my arms are out towards the sides, still internally, externally rotating. And then I'm going to extend the arms out to the sides, really pressing away from me, but my fingers trying to come back towards me. Take a breath and exhale. Release that. Just going to do a little twist. So twisting. So before we're getting started, we're just moving the spine in all these different ways, as well as getting some mobility in our shoulders. So now the little twist, we're going to rotate from the roots. Remember, keep the pelvis straight, or where it is, So I'm going to twist over to the right, and this shoulder blade, I'm going to kind of pull it back. So it's retracting. So the shoulder blade is coming back. And this one I'm going to protract a little bit. So bring the shoulder away, or like twisting from the shoulder a little bit. I'm not forcing this twist. It's an active twist, okay? Obliques are keeping me here. Taking some breaths. You don't need to be forcing. Come forward. Take a breath. Exhale, twist to the other side. Keep breathing. So that's the thing. If you're holding yourself so tight that you can't breathe, or you're holding your breath, then you've gone a little too far. So again, we're twisted. Don't forget this back shoulder, I'm protracting. So bringing the shoulder blade back, and this one a little forward. And take a breath. And you can even look to get that little bit of a cervical spine twist as well. So I'm looking over to my left shoulder. And I'm going to come forward again. And now we're just going to do a couple cat-cows. So I'm going to hold onto my knees, and I'm going to tuck the pelvis under, and I'm going to come into this cat position. So I'm just working my way up the spine, curling in, and now starting from the pelvis. I'm going to try to, it's a little bit hard actually sitting on this, doing it on the bolster, but tucking my pelvis and then coming up in this cow. I like to hold on to my knees a little bit and just reach my shoulders forward. Don't yank with the knees, but I'm hardly holding my knees actually, but just reaching through the shoulder blades. So the shoulder blades are coming back. And now I'm going to tuck the pelvis again, tuck under, and curl my body, chin coming towards the chest. And starting with the pelvis again, and tucking, untucking, and then coming forward, and this pulling the chest through the shoulders, and then come back to neutral again. So now we're going to get into the hips a little bit. So we're just starting first with these just really mobility movements in the legs. So internal, external rotation. Anybody who's done these classes are familiar with this. So really just again focusing on the femur, the leg bone in the hip socket, and trying to get the movement to come from there. You can, I'm sitting on something, you can be doing these sitting on a chair as well. And you can also do it without the bolster, and then if you want, you can lean back into your arms a little bit. Even if you're sitting on the bolster and you want to lean back into your arms a little bit because you're getting tired sitting straight, do that. And I'm bringing the legs in a little closer, and I'm continuing that movement. So staying with the breath, and then a little closer. And now we're going to come into the 90-90 legs. So I'm going to get off this bolster. You can actually do this on a chair as well, and I'll probably give you a little demonstration of that in a second. But you can, so 90-90 legs, I'm basically starting with my back leg at a 90-ish position. If you don't feel comfortable there, it can be wider. It's just not going to work that well if your leg is really close to you. So just get comfortable. You can lean back into your arms to make it even more accessible for you. And don't worry if your legs don't touch, okay, the floor. So just leave them where they are. Even if you wanted to, you could put some supports under them. So you're just not expected to come down to the floor, for your legs to come right down to the floor if they don't. So this leg is in 90 degree, this one, and what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna open this top leg and kind of just rotating here on my heel, and I'm opening this leg, and you're gonna move around a little bit until it pulls this other leg with it. So now I'm in this position, and again, so we're just opening that back leg, and I'm opening until I get this nice stretch, and pulls my other leg over with it. So I'm just going back and forth like that. And you are going to move around. Sometimes it's fun to just try it without your arms resting on the back. So you can even try that. So I'm just opening. And you'll probably move around a bit, like I said. So I'm just coming back and forth. So it's kind of fun to try it that way. If that's not going well for you, then even staying in the 90-90 and just opening one leg and doing that for a while and coming to the other side, you can do that. And you keep doing that back and forth. And in a chair, I think you could do it, you could just, so you're trying to get 90-90, so you would just do the same thing in a chair, and I can rotate on my heel here and then bring the other leg over. So very possible to do this. Same work you're getting in the hips if you're not on a chair. So now we're gonna come back, and you're either gonna be on one side or the other. And this time we're just going to try to keep the foot planted down, and you're gonna try to raise this right knee, okay? So you're just raising the knee up, but you're really thinking about pushing through the thigh, okay? So like pushing, like there's something here that you're pushing in towards. So you're just lifting, and take a breath and come down. Take a breath, come down. So you move with at your own pace, whatever's comfortable for you. So I'm just lifting and lowering. Lifting, I'm holding, take a breath there. Come down. Now I'm kind of upright, but you can be, lean to the side as much as you need to. Just don't collapse in your shoulders. Just push out of your shoulder. But you're just not way back like this, I guess. So, and now this time open and hold. And we're just going to do a couple of pumps here. So that's what I call them. So just do the top half, like little pumps. I don't know what to call it. So just do a couple more. And now bring that knee down. And you're going to plant the knee down and try to lift the foot. It's not going to come very high. But keep going. So I'm lifting and lowering, lifting and lowering. And you're really trying to keep the pelvis kind of still. So you're not like, the pelvis is not moving. You're trying to keep it still, the knee down, and just lift and lower, lift and lower. And now if you can even keep it up for a little bit. And lower down. Okay, now push that leg out like you're going to sit with your legs opened. And now you're going to, and so the two legs are open now. And now you're going to pull the legs back into that 90-90. So get situated. And again, I'm just leaning back a little tiny bit, not much. I'm kind of on my fingertips. And this back leg now, I'm going to open. So the heel, the foot is on the floor, and I'm just opening the knee up. So taking a breath and coming down, and really feel like you're pushing out of here. So it's not so much, well, there's your knee coming off the floor, of course, so I want you to have this little push, not too much of a push, we don't want to cramp, but. And breathe in. Inhale and exhale. And we're going to hold now at the top, and we'll do some of those pumps. And stay with your breath. No tension anywhere. And like, we're not trying to go past a boundary. It's not like, oh, I feel it here and I'm really trying to push past. So let's just hold it up again. Hold, hold, hold. And we'll come down. And now this time, keeping the knee down, I'm trying to lift the foot. I feel like this used to be easier for me the last time I did it. So I don't know about you, but it's kind of giving me this feeling like I'm going to get a cramp. So if that's happening to you, probably you may want to stop because I know I may. But if it's not happening for you, you could just keep with it. Yeah. So that's enough of those for me. Do a couple more if you want. Take a big breath. And now again, I'm going to push that back leg out, and then this one comes out as well. And since we're here, and I don't know how comfortable you are here, especially if you're not sitting on anything, but since we're here, let's just do a little tiny forward fold. So my legs are really, they're externally rotated, feet are up towards the ceiling, toes are up towards the ceiling. I'm just going to try to hinge over, okay? So just keeping the whole body where it is, and this hinge comes from the hips. So we're just hinging over, tuck the chin, nice straight back. Take some breaths, let the belly release. Nice soft breaths. You may feel like you're coming down a little further with the exhales, but nothing forced here, just nice. And sometimes having the legs, you may want the legs a little bit, the knees a little bit bent. So if you have to do this to sit more up on your sit bones, that works as well. So take another breath here. And come all the way up again. And maybe give your legs a little shake, a little rub. We're going to come on to hands and knees. So hands and knees, you can have something underneath your knees like a blanket. Hands are underneath the shoulders, and I'm pushing out of the floor. I'm making sure my ribs are nice and flat to my body. And I'm just going to move. So I'm just going to bring my hips from side to side. Now I'm going to do some circles with my hips. So I'm just going to come around and back and around, and you can do any kind of movement that feels good here. I'm coming around one circle, turning in one direction, and then I'm going to come around in the other direction. So I'm still moving my hips side to side, coming all the way back, moving up again. I'm going to do another one of those big circles. Big breaths, and come back. And I'm just going to do a little like shimmy, I guess. We're going to bring it's like I'm bringing my hip up towards my elbow, okay? So a little tiny, small. So it's not like a wave, it's bringing the hip. So it's more of a rotation in the pelvis from side to side. So here we're going to go into a downward dog, or your version of a downward dog. So if you're not in a downward dog yet, just tucking the toes and reaching the arms out in front of you and coming back. And then you can even play with really pressing the arms into the floor, that external rotation in the shoulders to feel really solid in the shoulders. And you can just practice coming up off the knees and coming down. Okay, coming up off the knees. You can even play with them coming back a little bit more, bringing the knees up at different heights, okay? So you can practice that. If you're going to go into a downward dog with me, we'll start it the same way actually. So we'll just come back. So come back, our thumbs towards our heels. I'm gonna reach my arms out in front of me, keeping my ribs in. And then I'm gonna come back up onto all fours, tuck, my toes are tucked, and I'm just gonna reach all the way back. So I want my ribs in. I want that external rotation going on in my shoulders, so my shoulders feel nice and strong. And I'm just pedaling in my downward dog. So I'm just bending one knee, Bending the other, relax the neck completely, okay? No pressure in the neck. I'm just coming down for a second. You can stay in your downward dog or just take a rest, but I'm just gonna show you, just to keep in mind that if we don't have the right mobility in our arms, then we shouldn't be doing this because we're just gonna be compensating to get into the pose. And we don't wanna be making any compensations. So again, I'm gonna do another downward dog. So another way to get into downward dog is from plank. So I'm putting my hands a little bit in front of my shoulders. I'm gonna externally rotate, wrap my shoulders around, come into this plank, and then I'm gonna come back into my downward dog. And breathe. So I like just to be here, take a few breaths, come down, come up again. And perhaps bending both the knees. And unbending the knees, and bending, and unbending. Okay, so now we're gonna walk the hands back to our feet. Okay, so have a nice generous bend in the knees. And as you're walking the hands back, I want you to do it as slow and with little wobbling as possible, okay? So you're coming back, and as you're coming back, your knees are bending more and more. So we're gonna come back, so we're almost like sitting now. I'm coming back into sitting on our toes, I guess. It's like toe stand, seated toe stand. So we're on our toes. I'm gonna spread my toes here now, nice and wide. So really outstretching the toes. Really feeling that I'm pressing into the metatarsals of the feet, so those like toe mounds, all across. And I'm gonna try to come and stand up now on my tippy toes. You can use a wall or some support if you need to. So I'm pressing in right through those metatarsals of the foot. I'm gonna try to come up. The legs are gonna wanna spread, or they may wanna try to keep them in. Come up, up, up on the toes. See if you can stay here. Staying up on the toes. Notice what's going on with the ankles, what the feet wanna do. Woo, a lot of work in the ankles here. Practicing our balance. And when you get off balance, just come down onto your feet. Maybe a little toe stretch here, foot stretch. So I'm just gonna take the top of my foot and just bring it down behind me onto the floor. A little foot stretch, and I'm just stretching it a little bit to each side. And I'm gonna do the other foot. So you can hold on to something here as well if you wanna. I'm just going on the back of the foot and a little massage from one side to the other. Okay, so we're standing. What we're gonna do now is take our block and just practicing our pelvic lifts right now. So when we're standing, especially if we have kids or whatever the case, like we stand a lot of times with our hip jutted out to the side. You'll notice when you're doing dishes or anything like that, I always notice it. Making coffee or anything, I'm like this, and then I might be on the counter and I'll lean into the counter and then I'm like this. And just after time, it just causes a lot of wear on the hips. So what we want to do about that is get into the habit, no matter where we are, not just in yoga, but when you are washing dishes or you're saying, see, I'm already doing it, I'm like, oh, I'm coming over, right? So it's just a practice to remind yourself to come, to try as much as you can to stand, to protect your hips, to stand without doing that, and to also create a lot of stability around the hips. Okay, so that's what this is about. So I only had this because we're going to just put all our weight onto our left foot. I'm going to press down into the foot, and then you're going to notice you're going to lift up, okay? So the other hip is going to lift, and your foot is kind of off the floor. And that's all we're doing. So the foot is straight, and I was just going to take this block just so you can hold it here just as a reminder to keep the hip in. Okay, so that's all we're doing. You don't want to lock the knee out, and you also don't want your weight to be coming forward. So you always, a bit more weight in the heel, say, and just holding in. You can even just put your hand there as a reminder to hold in. And as you may be experiencing, it does get tiring pretty quick. So even when you're doing dishes or whatever, standing up, doing cooking, whatever, it's just doing this while you're cooking, like you're chopping up something, or I don't know if you should be just standing on like chopping up something, but you know what I mean, washing dishes, whatever. Do this exercise. It's just as simple as that. So, and we'll come down. Okay, this time, and you might need a wall, we're going to just stand by the wall. The feet are hip width distance apart. And you're going to, again, put all your weight on the standing leg. So I'm putting on my right leg. And now I'm really sucking in that hip, right? Pushing down the floor. But when you push, I want you to feel like nothing, like you don't want to hyperextend the knee. You really want to feel this like little, like my teacher says, a little puff of air in the joints. So we're just going to bring the heel up towards the bum now. And you want to keep the knees low, okay? You don't want the knee coming out. And you're just squeezing here, that's all. So keep that hip in, it's gonna wanna come up. And you're just squeezing. And releasing. Okay, now shake that out. This time we're going to use a block. So the same thing, putting our weight into the right leg, really bringing that hip in. Don't let that hip come out. A little bit more weight, like back, just that we don't want to be hanging forward. I'm going to bring this block now, or if you have a book, or if you don't have anything, that's fine. Just do what we did the last time. Or you can have anything here, a pillow, yeah, anything. And so it's just for a bit of biofeedback, something to push into. So now I'm pushing into this block. My other hip is getting super tired. And now what we're doing is actually getting a stretch in the quads. So the big muscles in our front of our legs are actually stretching with this pose. And release. And shake that out. And we're just going to move on to the other side. So I'm just going to hold onto the wall. I'm really bringing that hip in. So bring the hip in. And first thing, without the block, we're just going to fold that knee. So the legs are hip width distance apart. And bring the knee, bringing the heel towards the bum. And I'm squeezing. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Don't forget to breathe. Don't forget to let the belly loose and the jaw. And maybe the hip has started to come out again. Check in. Breathe, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And release, and maybe give it a little shake. And we're going to use the block again. So bring the hip in, the standing leg, bring the block behind. And now again, just squeezing. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. So this is a stretch in the quads. It's an eccentric contraction. So it's a stretch with doing a contraction. And release and shake that out. Okay, so just getting a little bit of action in the hips there. We're going to come down now onto our bottoms. And this is where we're going to take our bolster or two big pillows and put under us. So I think I'm going to move the camera a little closer, perhaps. Just, I know, I feel that you may not hear me, but I'm sure you will. So legs up the wall. So the best way to get legs up the wall, or how are we going to do this? Actually, maybe we won't do legs up the wall first. Before we go into legs up the wall, we're going to take this bolster or your pillows, and we're going to get it underneath us, okay? So there's different ways to do it, I guess. You basically want to get this underneath your sacrum, so your lower back. And I'm not sure if I'm doing it the best way, but I'm like, I got my lower back supported here by the bolster, and I'm just coming down onto my back here. And basically, I'm just going to curl my knees up right now as I get comfortable on this. So you want your back nice and supported. Yeah, and I think you're gonna know when you're in your Goldilocks spot. You don't want to be tipped up too much. You don't want to be tipped down. So just nice and flat. Make sure that you're nice and comfy. And yeah, all I'm doing is just bringing my knees in towards me first. Getting all comfy. And now I want you to bring your legs just up to the sky. And just enjoy that for a minute. So let's do a couple of ankle rolls one way and then the other. And I'm just going to open my legs. So just like getting a little bit of movement, whatever feels good for you. So I'm opening, crossing, do whatever you want to do. Okay, so now what we're going to do is just with the legs up, the shoulders nice and flat, nice and comfortable here. And what I'm going to start doing now is going into that internal and external rotation here of the legs up into the sky. So internally, externally, rotating. And I guess I should have said this, but you're going to need your block here. So hopefully you can reach it from where you are. If not, I'm very sorry about that. Yeah, okay. So now we just did some internal, external rotations. Now take the legs, squeeze them together. So put them together and just squeeze the legs together. Just squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And now externally rotate the legs and kind of squeeze, squeeze, squeeze again. And close the toes, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze the thighs. Whew. Okay. We're going to take the block now, and we're going to put this block, or if you have a little cushion, anything that's super light, okay? You can put up here. If not, you can, yeah, try to get something, a little blanket or something light that you can hold between. I'm holding this between my ankles. You may have to fiddle with it a little bit. And I'm going to do internal and external rotations here. So internal is a little bit hard. You got to try to find maybe this with the, yeah. Probably I'm going to get more of an external rotation trying to hold the block between the feet, but give it a try. So internal, external rotation, probably feeling a lot of work going on in the adductors and the abductors. So inside of the thigh and outside of the thigh. Couple more. Whew. And then take your block and let your legs come down, or you can let your legs come down onto the floor as well. Whatever is most comfortable for you. I'm going to hold my knees up and just come back to your breath. You can always do a couple ankle rolls, feels really nice here. And now we're going to bring your legs up into the sky again. And if you're still, the higher this is, the better or easier it's going to be to have your feet up to the ceiling, okay? So if this is not high enough, your legs are probably like out to here, or you're forcing them to stay up. So yeah, maybe double up on the pillows if you need to. So block between the knees now. Same thing. So I'm internally rotating and externally rotating. Move with your breath. Internal, external, inhale, exhale. Keep going. The legs are coming closer to my head. And try to keep them up straight. And this time when you go into the external rotation, just hold there. Hold, hold, hold. And I noticed that my feet were tensing up. I don't want my feet to tense up. I want them to let go of the energy. And as soon as I let my feet let go of the energy, guess what? More energy came down to where I want the energy to go. Okay, and relax, take your block, let your feet come to the floor if you want. Take some breaths. Feel what your legs feel like, or notice what your legs feel like. You can bring the knees into the chest if you want and give them a big hug. So my pelvis here is, you know, just basically I just want to make sure that you guys are comfortable and you're not, yeah, my pelvis is pretty neutral. It is obviously tipped up because I'm tipped up, not, yeah. I don't want to confuse you. I'm sure it's, as long as you're feeling nice and comfortable and there is no pain or no discomfort, you're fine. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. I'm gonna put the block between my thighs now. And my legs are still up towards the ceiling. And internal and external rotation again. And I want to remind my feet now to not engage. So internal, external. Keep going. And this time on the external, just stay there for a breath. And then internal, stay there for a breath. And then external, stay there for a breath. Internal, and stay there for a breath. Remind your feet to relax, your jaw, your shoulders, everywhere else that may be tensing up because of this work you're doing. Now come back into the internal and external rotations here. And you can release that. Whew. Okay, so you can release this block now, or the bolster from underneath you, and then just come down and just give yourself a little rest and a little breather here. Notice how your legs are feeling. You can outstretch the legs, you can have them bent. Okay, so now we're going to come up with legs up the wall. So with legs up the wall, you're going to have an option to keep this underneath you like you just did. So if that was really comfortable for you, you can go back and do that. Or else you can just bring your legs up the wall without anything under your pelvis, but you may want something underneath your head. So I would probably use a pillow to put underneath my head. So take your bum a little out, quite a ways out from the wall. So you can come onto your side. I'm going to have this pillow here for my head. So you can come to the side like this, and then just twist yourself over. And then legs up the wall, and I'm quite a ways from the wall right now. So just put your legs at, I'm going to come in just a little tiny bit. Okay, so legs up the wall, have them at a comfortable distance away. You don't want them too wide, okay? And we're going to go back into that internal and external rotation with the heels on the wall. So letting the rest of your body relax. Moving with your breath. And then bring the legs in a little closer. And then a little closer. So about hip width distance apart now. And keep with the movements. Now hold the external rotation. Relax the feet, remind them to relax. And now internal hold. Relax the toes. And now bend, so you may have to push yourself out a little tiny bit more. And what you're gonna do is take your right ankle and put it over the left thigh, okay? So I have the left foot is up straight and I've taken the right and I've put it over the left. So just like that figure 4. So I want a neutral pelvis here, just meaning that I don't want my pelvis tucked under. I can feel all of my ribs touching the floor. There's a little space into my lower back. I want to keep that space. I want to keep my pelvis where it is. And now I'm just going to start to bend this leg, the one against the wall. And you're going to bend that to wherever you can bend it to get to this nice stretch in this leg. You may want to push out a little tiny bit with that knee, the top knee, push it towards the wall. Not too much, just very, very gentle. Just stay here and breathe. Now you may notice that the knee that's bent, the top knee, you may have come over a little tiny bit over onto that side. I want you to level yourself back out again. So you're only bending this knee that's on the wall as far as you can without the back flattening to the floor. And you obviously don't want to be tearing anything. This should feel really nice. And just stay here and breathe. And really try to let go, okay? Try to release. Don't try to be holding any tension in that top leg. And if it's getting a little too much, like maybe you're like, oh, I don't know, this is not feeling as great anymore, just take the bend out of that knee. And now we were just going to switch. So let's just have the legs nice and wide again and do just a couple internal, external, just for movement, really. Bring the legs in together again. And this time I'm going to bring the right leg over, or the left leg over the top. And like this, so I feel way more tighter here, and I feel like, and if you want, you could just push yourself out from the wall a little bit, okay? You always have that option if you're in too close. Just push yourself out, which I just had to do because I'm much tighter on this side. And again, I kind of came over a little bit to the right, so I want to bring myself back. So my heel should be, my foot should be, like I'm actually bringing my toes towards my face a little bit, and you'll notice, because if your foot is just on the floor, or on the wall, sorry, you won't get as much. So just take the heel or the toes, bring them towards yourself. But the feet should be straight. So remember to let this leg release, this top leg. And breathe. And we're slowing down now. So we'll be coming into Shavasana soon. And we can release that. We'll let the legs come up the wall again. And so now I'm just going to, I'm just windshield wipering the feet from side to side. So I'm just on the heels, going back and forth. And now I'm going to come into that 90-90 leg again. So I may have to get a little bit closer. So I'm basically just gonna be opening up the legs again, just like we were sitting on the floor. So I have this leg at a 90, this leg, you're gonna have to just figure it out a little bit to find out what's right for you, okay? So I'm just gonna open now this top leg, and the other leg is going to come over. So my heels are kind of directly across from each other and knees bent. So you're just gonna have to push yourself out from the wall, or yes, if you're a bit too close. So now my two legs, at a 90-degree angle here, and I'm just gonna open one, just like we did at the beginning, and let the other one come over. So I'm just opening my right leg, and it's like this pull. It's like pulling my other leg over. So I'm gonna bend, and it's this external rotation in the hip here, opening, and then pulling this leg. So enjoy this movement. This is so nice. And breathe. And as you get over onto one side, you can stay there if you want for a breath. And I move over onto the other side and take a breath. And then coming back to neutral. Now here you can decide to stay in your Shavasana with legs up the wall. You can bring the legs down and have them more in a butterfly with your bum perhaps a little closer. So different things you could do. You can bring your bum really close and just bring or as close as what's comfortable, I should say, and bring the legs up the wall. You should try to keep a little arch in your lower back, okay? Not flattening the spine or flattening the lumbar spine down to the floor. You want to prevent that. You just don't want to be in the habit of doing that. And so legs up the wall or butterfly is nice. You can bring the legs together like this. In butterfly, I always recommend having some support underneath your thighs, or you can sometimes taking your fists and putting them there. So you choose what you want to do for your Shavasana. Get comfy. So we did a lot of hip work then. So a lot of stabilizing hip work. And like I said at the beginning of the class, our heart wasn't really racing or anything like that, but we did definitely get some good work and strength and mobility in the hips. So you may really notice this when you're walking the next time. So get comfy. Notice how your hips feel. You probably won't notice as much until you get up and start walking around. But now it's time to relax. So letting your body rest into the earth, rest into your mat. Noticing all the sounds around you. Notice the temperature of the room. Notice your heart beating. Notice all the parts of the body that are touching the floor and how that feels. Notice the breath. Notice how you're breathing, whether you're breathing shallow or deep. Try to bring in some big expansive breaths through the nose. Let the belly expand on the inhale. And seat back on the exhale. A little smile on the face. And the rest of the muscles relaxing. Create a little space between the back teeth. Release the tongue from the roof of the mouth. Connecting to your heart, whatever that means for you. Allowing the back of the head release into the mat. And you're inviting a relaxed feeling and calm down through all parts of the body. The neck, the shoulders, moving down the arms, into the wrists and hands and fingers. Taking a breath in and breath out. The back feeling heavier, the shoulder blades heavy, all the muscles of the back loosening their grip. The belly is free to fall and rise with the breath. Your pelvis is heavy, inviting this heavy, relaxed feeling to move down your legs into your knees, moving down into the ankles and the heels, the feet, and the toes. Connecting back into your heart center. Notice your feelings, notice your emotions. And when your mind becomes busy with thoughts, try to be more of the observer. Let them recede into the background. While you stay connected to yourself with an open heart. I'm going to leave you guys here. And I hope you have a beautiful evening. Namaste. And God bless.